Hello and a very warm welcome viewers. You're watching our special edition, the Question Hour show from the Parliament House complex. The show where we bring you important unstart questions asked by the members of the upper house. And in this edition, we'll get you all the important questions asked by the members of the upper house during the ongoing 253rd session of the Rajya Sabha. And right now, of course, there's recess, but we'll get all the important questions. Rajat?
Absolutely. Thanks, Kriti, for joining. And of course, thanks to our viewers for watching this edition of Question Hour. Now, before we go off to the Question Hour show, let's introduce our viewers to the category of questions. Broadly speaking, there are three categories of questions: starred, unstarred, and the short notice ones.
Well, absolutely. And as our viewers know, that question hour is a very important part of India's parliamentary democracy because it gives an opportunity to the members of both houses, the Rajya Sabha and the Lok Sabha, to seek answers from the government to fix accountability. And as Rajat said, start, unstarred and short notice ones. Now, start questions are those questions of which answers are given orally on the floor of the House by concerned ministers. And unstarred questions are those questions of which response is given by the government in written format.
Well, and our show focuses on the unstarred questions asked by the members and replies given by the government. But how these questions are asked and how they make it to the table of the ministry and how they are subsequently answered. Here is a small presentation. A member submits his or her questions at least 15 days before the office of Rajya Sabha chairman. The Rajya Sabha Secretariat chooses the questions to be answered through a draw of ballots. Separate ballots are held for starred and unstarred questions. The questions are scrutinized for admissibility under the current rules and precedents. Questions are disallowed if they are not in order. Advance copies of chosen questions are sent to ministry or departments concerned. The ministry concerns collect information to prepare the reply. The minister concerned reply to starred questions on the floor of the House and provides written answers to unstarred questions. Up to 160 unstarred questions are listed every day in a separate list.
So that was the presentation. And now, Rajat, let's begin our Question Hour show. And the first question in this edition is from member Vinay SAHASRABUDDHE, and this question is to the Ministry of Finance. And the member has inquired about the use of Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana in extending benefits to the beneficiaries during the COVID-19 pandemic and also during the lockdown.
Well, that's a very important question, Kriti, and as you know, COVID-19 pandemic has been an extremely difficult situation worldwide, not just in terms of health, but also in terms of economic activities. Now, to sustain the livelihood, to help the needy, the Government of India pursued several initiatives for this period. The reply to this query was given by Minister of State for Ministry of Finance, Anurag Singh Thakur, and he says the benefits under various direct benefit transfer schemes of central government are remitted to bank account numbers indicated by eligible beneficiaries. The indicated account may be Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana account or any normal saving account of the beneficiary. The scheme of one-time ex gratia payment of Rs 500 per month for 3 months, that is covering April, May and June 2020, announced by Union Minister for Finance on 26 March 2020 as part of Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana was specifically targeted at women account holder. The scheme was administered by Ministry of Rural Development. As informed by the Ministry of Rural Development, under the scheme a total of 20.64 crore women account holders were benefited and total amount of 30,944.99 crore was credited to beneficiary accounts.
And Rajat, joining us on the Question Hour show is Rajya Sabha MP Dr. Vinay SAHASRABUDDHE. So welcome Rajya Sabha Television and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
So during the first half of the budget session, you asked a very important question, which was on the use of Jan Dhan Yojana by various ministries for extending the benefits to the beneficiaries. The government has given a detailed response. What is your take?
Well, I am happy about the response basically because the intention behind asking this question was to get to know as to how this very distinct approach taken by the government under the Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji's leadership. Because, earlier also the government and the ministers at that point of time were talking about financial inclusion. But the very definition of financial inclusion got transformed drastically because of the Janadhana. Earlier, what used to happen, if a particular tehsil has maybe 3 or 4 branches of any nationalized bank, then it was considered that the entire tehsil, a part of the district, it's under the financial inclusion. It has been included. So it was a macro level kind of inclusion. Now we have gone to the micro level, and we have ensured that every other individual, women, laborers, farm laborers, everybody should have a bank account. It started with a zero income, zero cash, zero balance bank account, and that is why it is a Pradhan Mantri Jana Dhana account. And therefore, now that these accounts were opened, regardless of what kind of balance do they have and what kind of income are they going to put in those accounts, the accounts provided a channel for the government to transfer money under various welfare schemes. And therefore, I was curious to know as to how the Pradhan Mantri Jana Dhana Yojana accounts have proved to be beneficial for the transfer of money to the especially most disadvantaged and weaker sections.
So how effective has Jan Dhan Yojana been in plugging the leakages in our system?
Well, I think in our recent history of governance and, in a way, political economy, we know the statement of one of our former prime ministers, where he had very candidly said that if I send 1 rupee from Delhi, only 15 paise reach up to the actual beneficiary. And therefore, there are huge pilferages that are happening for various reasons, corrupt practices included. And therefore, to plug this, naturally what was required to have a direct benefit transfer kind of approach. Now the government took that approach. This is not a new approach. It was taken during the earlier governments also. But you can ensure direct benefit transfer only if there is a particular mechanism to receive those transfers. So these accounts have provided that vessel to the person who is the beneficiary, in which he can collect the funds. And these Pradhan Mantri Jana Dhan Yojana accounts, I think, have proved beneficial in multiple ways for different and variety of government schemes, where the weaker sections, the marginalized, the peripheral sections of the society have received direct benefits under various schemes without a pilferage of a single rupee, without any middlemen, without keeping somebody in good humor. So this is something, a restoration of the economic rights of our weaker sections.
Finally, sir, any suggestion to the government?
No, well, I think the government has already very effectively implemented Jana Dhan Yojana. Now I believe once an account is opened, and the way the transactions happen or they do not happen, whatever the case may be, it provides you a kind of channel to gather some sociological inputs as well, sociological research inputs for that matter. For example, how many women are operating their accounts on their own, or is it being operated by somebody else as her proxy maybe? How many times people are visiting banks? How many credit cards are being used? Because now, once the saving banks and these things have come into the lives of our marginalized section brothers and sisters, some of them have also gone couple of steps forward. Now they have either the Bheem app, or they are using some cards as well. Kisan credit card, for example, has also established itself in a very significant manner. And therefore, how exactly the financial dealings are happening, the financial transactions are happening, will provide us some kind of an insight about the sociological aspect of welfare schemes and their kind of reaching to the targeted sections of the society.
All right, Dr. Sahasrabuddhe, you made a very valid point there. Thank you so much for joining us and speaking to us.
Well, moving on to next question that was asked by member Vijay Pal Singh Tomar from Ministry of Finance. The member saw details of steps taken by the government in terms of addressing the economic situation in last 2 years and also in the current year. And of course, have they taken note of global economic scenario and what steps has been taken for that?
And this response has been given by MOS Finance Anurag Thakur, and he says that the government has taken several steps in the recent years to boost FDI or foreign direct investment and to boost India's economic growth prospects. The government enacted Insolvency Bankruptcy Code. It also liberalized the FDI regime. It also unveiled the GST regime, which is for simplification of the indirect tax regime, and also launched Make in India campaign for boosting indigenous manufacturing, and also a very important component which is of JAM Trinity for increasing transparency, efficiency, and also for financial development and inclusion. In September 2019, the corporate tax was also reduced to 15% from new domestic manufacturing companies, which is amongst the lowest in the world. In December 2019, the government announced 103 lakh crore national infrastructure pipeline, which would significantly boost infrastructure and spur growth impulses in the economy. The Union Budget 2020-21 also announced a number of growth supporting measures, which include rationalization of personal income tax rates to support domestic demand, a 16-point action plan for holistic development of agriculture sector, and critical measures to boost infrastructure and rural spending. Government has announced a special economic and comprehensive package of 29.87 lakh crore, equivalent to 15% of India's GDP, to combat the impact of COVID-19 pandemic in India. The package includes, among others, in-kind and cash transfer relief measures for households, employment provision measures under Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Rozgar Abhiyan, and increased allocation under Manrega, credit guarantee and equity infusion-based relief measures for MSMEs, NBFCs, and regulatory and compliance measures related to tax filing, IBC, and procurement. Structural reforms have also been announced as part of the Atmanirbhar Bharat package, which include deregulation of the agricultural sector, change in the definition of MSMEs, new PSU policy, commercialization of coal mining, higher FDI limits in defence and space sector, development of industrial land, land bank and industrial information system, revamp of viability gap funding, for social infrastructure, new power tariff policy, and incentivizing states to undertake sector reforms. The implementation of the package is reviewed and monitored regularly. The government further says that as per the latest estimates by International Monetary Fund, in its World Economic Outlook update, January 2021, the global economy is estimated to contract at negative 3.5% in 2020 and is projected to grow at 5.5% in 2021 and 4.2% in 2022. Contraction in world trade volume of goods and services is estimated at 9.6% in 2020. Consistent with recovery in global activity, global trade volumes are forecast to grow at 8.1% in 2021 before moderating to 6% in 2022. Services trade is expected to recover more slowly than merchandise volumes, with subdued cross-border tourism and business travel until the pandemic spread is curbed significantly across the world. In recent years, Government of India has undertaken various initiatives to boost exports and promote domestic production, which include Production-Linked Incentive Scheme or the PLI scheme, the remission of duties and taxes on exported products, which is RoDTEP scheme, a comprehensive agriculture export policy, specific service exports promotion action plans for the 12 champion services sector, promoting districts as export hubs, identification of 24 manufacturing subsectors with high export potential, and trade facilitating digital initiatives like Common Digital Platform for Certificate of Origin. In the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic, government has also extended the provisions of Foreign Direct Policy 2015-2020 and Interest Equalization Scheme on pre- and post-shipment rupee export credit by 1 year up to 31st of March 2021. As per IMF's WEO update January 2021, the Indian economy is estimated to contract by 8% in 2020 and projected to grow at 11.5% and 6.8% in 2021 and 2022 respectively, to become the fastest growing economy of the world. China is estimated to grow at 2.3% in 2020, 8.1% in 2021 and 5.6% in 2022. In the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic, India has adopted the vision of self-reliant India under the Atmanirbhar Bharat initiative, wherein it is expected to become an important and reliable pillar of world economy and global supply chains. India's concerted efforts towards providing affordability and accessibility of COVID-19 vaccines and the world is also a critical step in the direction of India's sustainable economic growth trajectory. So that was a very comprehensive reply given by the Finance Ministry on the steps taken by the government to boost India's economic growth prospects. Now moving on to the next question, which has been asked by member K. Ravindra Kumar, and this question is to the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. And the member has asked the government about the steps that it has taken to curb the spread of new strain of COVID-19 pandemic.
Well, the new strain of COVID-19 has been a cause of concern in several countries as it's spreading fast. Of course, it's still under examination whether severity of this new strain is much higher than the existing COVID-19. However, we are fortunate that it's not spreading as fast in India. Well, the reply was given by Ashwini Kumar Chaubey, Minister of State for Health and Family Welfare. In the reply, the ministry says that many countries in Europe and America are witnessing a resurgence in number of COVID-19 cases. United Kingdom reported a new variant of SARS-CoV virus on the 14th of December 2020 to World Health Organization. Currently in UK, this new variant has become the dominant circulating virus as compared to SARS-CoV virus. As on 29 January, about 61 countries, including the UK, have reported UK variant. In India, till 28th of January 2021, 136 travellers and their contacts have been tested positive for UK strain in India. Government of India has taken a number of steps to prevent its spread in the country. All flights to UK were banned from December 23, 2020 to 7 January 2021. Resumption of limited international flight services to UK has been allowed with effect from 8th of January 2021 in a calibrated manner by initially allowing flight movement to and fro UK to 5 international airports, which include Delhi, Mumbai, Bengaluru, Hyderabad and Chennai only. All the passengers arriving from UK should be carrying a negative RT-PCR report for which tests should have been conducted within 72 hours prior to undertaking the journey. All international passengers who arrive in India from UK or transit through UK are again mandatorily tested for COVID-19 by RT-PCR at the airport. All passengers and the contacts who were tested positive for the RT-PCR are isolated. Their samples are sent for whole genome sequencing to detect UK variant. And finally, all international passengers who test negative at airport are quarantined for 14 days. Detailed guidelines are also available in the official website of the ministry. Well, that was reply from Ministry of Health. Now moving on to next question that was asked by member Elamaram Karim from Ministry of Tourism. The member saw details about the tourist inflow or the tourist activity in the Union territories of Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh post-August of 2019 and what has been the scenario of economic activities dependent on tourism in the state.
Well, after abrogation of Article 370 and bifurcation of former state of Jammu and Kashmir into UT of Jammu and Kashmir and UT of Ladakh, several steps have been taken by the government to promote tourism in the region. And this response has been given by Tourism Minister Prahlad Singh Patel. And the minister says that the number of tourists who visited Jammu, Kashmir and Ladakh regions as per Ladakh and Jammu and Kashmir UT administration since August 2019 are in Kashmir 84,326, in Jammu 87,94,837 and in Ladakh 1,09,931. And the total number of pilgrims who visited Jammu since August 2019, that stands at 76,80,775. The government also says that Ministry of Tourism has not conducted any formal study to assess the job losses of artisans or weavers, tour operators, houseboat owners, tourists or shikaras or hotel and restaurant industry, tour guides and other allied sectors. With respect to job losses and financial aid to people dependent on tourism sector, Jammu and Kashmir UT administration has informed that since August 5th, 2019, that's when abrogation of Article 370 took place, the number of tourist arrivals in Jammu and Kashmir declined. The impact was felt more severely in Kashmir Valley than in Jammu division. However, the tourist footfall in Jammu and Kashmir is gradually increasing since last few months. In respect of the handicraft sector, no noticeable job loss in J&K have happened since August 5, 2019. The artisans engaged in different handicraft activities are continuing their job, and the government is providing support through different schemes, and steps are being taken to provide every possible assistance to artisans of Jammu and Kashmir through various schemes of the central government. As per the information received from the Jammu and Kashmir UT administration, the government has released a stimulus package of 5.6742 crore as relief in the wake of COVID-19 pandemic for its disbursement among the tourism stakeholders. The amount of relief which has been disbursed among the stakeholders is to the extent of 1,000 rupee per beneficiary per month for a period of 3 months as per the details. And the government also talks about the stakeholders or the number of beneficiaries. So Shikarawalas 4,880, Poniwalas 10,571, tourist guides 1,313, sledge or dandiwalas 2,150. The benefit has further been extended for a period of 6 months at Rs 1,000 per month, and an amount of 618.70 lakh has recently been approved by the government for further release to beneficiaries. In addition to the efforts of the UD administration's Ministry of Tourism is giving financial assistance to service providers in the UT of Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh, approved by the Ministry of Tourism and UT Tourism Department for undertaking promotional activities, including participation in international and domestic travel, marts of fairs or exhibitions or road shows, and undertaking online promotion or sail tours overseas to give boost to tourism sector in the region. So those were very specific details given by the government on tourism prospects in Jammu and Kashmir as well in Ladakh. Let's move on to the next question, and this one has been asked by member Prabhakar Reddy Vemi Reddy, and this question is to the Ministry of Power. And the member has sought clarity or has sought details on the directions issued by the centre to the DISCOMs and Transcos.
Well, the reply to this query was given by Minister of State for Power, R.K. Singh. In the reply, the ministry says that late payment surcharge becomes applicable in case of delayed payments by distribution companies to generating companies for power purchase and to transmission licenses for transmission of electricities. Therefore, the late payment surcharge is not charged by the DISCOM. Instead, they have to pay the late payment surcharge in case of delayed payment. In order to improve liquidity position of the electricity distribution companies due to COVID-19 pandemic, directions were issued by the central government on 28th of March 2020 under Section 107 of Electricity Act to Central Electricity Regulatory Commission to specify a reduced rate of late payment surcharge. On the directions of Ministry, the CERC, that is Central Electricity Regulatory Commission, has issued orders on the 3rd of April 2020 regarding reduced rate of LPS applicable under the tariff regulations to 1% per month for period from 24th March 2020 to 30th June 2020. All state governments were also requested to issue similar directions under Section 108 of Electricity Act to respective state electricity regulatory commissions, and the distribution companies pass on similar or more benefits to consumers with regard to reduced LPS. Further, in order to alleviate the financial stress on DISCOMs, the generating companies and transmission companies were advised by central government white letter dated 20 August 2020 to charge LPS at a rate not exceeding 1% per month for all payment made under the liquidity infusion scheme of PFC and REC under Atmanirbhar Bharat. The disbursement of REC and PFC is made to the Gencos and Transcos directly by the REC and PFC if bills are as per the above advisory. Well, that's it in this edition of Question Hour. Me and Kriti sign off from here.
Stay safe, stay healthy.